and welcome back to The Dog in the Pond. I'm Kelly, and this week we have two of Hollyoaks' best female villains. Now, there's a few clues here for you. They are the best of friends in real life. They play sisters on the show, but they have never actually been on screen together. Can you guess who it is? Please welcome Gemma Bissix, aka Claire Devine, and Tamara Wall, aka Grace Black. Hello.
Hello.
How are you both?
You're good.
So let's just clear this up, because you do play sisters on the show.
Yeah.
Yes. You've never actually been in the show together.
Nope.
No, never.
Please explain.
And
you're best of friends, which is even weirder.
It's a mad, weird story. But basically, I joined Hollyoaks, and my character joined Hollyoaks to turn up at my sister's funeral. So she died as I turned up for her funeral. And
which I must say that Brian Kirk would admit to both of us that he regrets to this day that there wasn't just that.
Oh my God, he literally regrets to this day. He wishes that he'd have done it differently.
And when we first met, we were from Cambridge, from Surrey, so together anyway, and we didn't know that about each other. And I was pregnant with my first child, so it's like 5 years ago. We met and just out. I was at a friend's hen do.
Oh yes,
heavily pregnant in Esher, and we met. And we just chatted, and it was just like, straight away that I'm still friends with Nick Pickard and people that are on the show. And it's like, oh my God, she's just like you. And it's so funny that we've been cast in a similar characters, playing sisters, and we're literally the same person, which is just ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it was mad for me, because when I started, I hadn't met you at all, and that's all everyone kept saying was, oh my God, like you're so like Gemma. It's like you are actually sisters. It's bizarre. Because obviously we've got, a similar accent because we come from the same place, which is weird as well. But also we're very much tomboys, like not a girly girl.
Like, we're kind of a bit of geezer, that's what we're like, aren't we?
Yeah.
Even though we're actually, do you know what? We're letting the side down with our wine and Prosecco.
I thought that. Where's the pints? Tam, your journey into Hollyoaks is quite an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a mad story. So basically, I was in the West End for years as doing showbiz, and I was doing Legally Blonde with Duncan James, and we were at the coffee corner one afternoon. I can't remember what I was doing, but it's being ridiculous, as I usually am. And he said, oh my God, you'd be brilliant in EastEnders. And I went, oh, that would be my dream to be in EastEnders. I'd love that, but I don't act. I never did TV or anything like that. And he went, oh, do you know what? One of my really, really closest friends is like the head storyliner for EastEnders. I'll get you in for a workshop. And when you go, oh yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, lo and behold, like 2 weeks later, it was Dominic Treadwell Collins, who was this head writer at the time, came to see the show. And afterwards, we went out for dinner, and he went, oh my God, brilliant. Yeah, Duncan's right. I'll get you in for a workshop. So off I'm going to this EastEnders workshop. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm like, da-da! Not like actor. And you're in this workshop, and there's like 12 of you on chairs sitting round, and the whole thing is like an actor's worst nightmare. Well, for me, where you do like improv, and there's like the writer, the producer, which at the time was Brian,
who is the Hollyoaks producer,
who is now the executive producer of Hollyoaks, but he was
went Brian, and we love Brian, just so we just get that straight.
Oh no, I wasn't doing that.
You did something, but it looked like that. We just have to clarify how much we love Brian, by the way.
Yeah, she didn't give the V's to Brian.
No, I would not be where I am today without him.
Absolutely. And me too.
So you do this, it's awful. They basically say, right, okay, you get up, you're in a hairsalon, you're the hairdresser, you get a hair on, and I'm like going, oh my God, what am I doing here? Like, they're all from like Varda and this, that, and the other. Anyway, left, sort of went, well, that was fun, but whatever. 2 weeks later, get a phone call from my agent saying, have you been to an EastEnders workshop? And I went, yeah. She went, it's just that they phoned me and said there's a part in EastEnders and can you come and audition? And I was like, what? Like, so now I'm going to EastEnders to audition for this part. And it's so different. You all know, Gemma, it's so different from doing a theatre audition. You're in like a little office with a sofa and someone with a little, camcorder. And anyway, left the audition, get a phone call that afternoon. You've got the part. I was like, what? Oh my God. So ended up doing this little part in EastEnders, which was supposed to sort of develop into something more. And then there was the whole kind of thing at EastEnders with the baby swapping storyline that just went ridiculous. And for whatever reason, Brian decided to leave EastEnders. And because of that, whoever came in went, oh, I don't know who Tamara is, So my character was dropped, which was really funny because I had a daughter in the show who, where we'd left off, I'd left upstairs in someone's bedroom. So she's there forevermore, still upstairs in a bedroom in the Queen Vic somewhere. So the best thing was that, unlike anything in this kind of business, I got a handwritten letter from Ryan through the post to my home address, not to my agent, saying, I'm so sorry it didn't work out for your part. I just wanted to write you this letter to say I thought you were fabulous and I feel partly responsible for the fact that the part hasn't carried on, and I want you to know that wherever I go to from now on, you will be first in my thoughts if something comes up. And I was like, what a lovely thing to do, because in this business you kind of go, well, that's that, and you're used to just it going, okay, well, that, it didn't work out, and carry on. Anyway, then I ended up being in the Spice Girls musical. Worst musical, as you're doing. Worst musical ever to hit West End stage.
Which one? Baby Spice.
No, it was. Oh, look.
Tam, you're not taking
your refill. That's skills. That is that your fiance refilling your drink?
Yes, Gigi.
He's already under the thumb.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so it was called Viva Forever, and it was, I can safely say on the record, the worst musical to ever be in the West End ever. We rehearsed for, I think it was 2 months, and we probably did maybe 3 months on stage before we closed. It was just dreadful.
Why was it dreadful?
Oh, it was because it was the same producer that did Mamma Mia, she's an amazing producer, but she got very bombarded by the director, who was a new director and kind of wanted to prove himself. So he was trying to make something that should have been fun and just about the music into like some Shakespeare show, which you can't do.
Not with the Spice Girls.
Exactly. Yeah. So it wasn't the Spice Girls story. It was a bit like Mamma Mia in it. It was their music, but a very different story. It was all about...
Tam.
Oh my God, you would have loved it. It was about like the X Factor, and it was about a girl who was in a band and then she went her own way and it all went awful. So it was all kind of based on this X Factor competition, and there was sort of mimics of X Factor judges. So there was a Sharon Osbourne, and there was Simon Cowell, and then there was me, who was like this cross between God knows what, who was like this Essex dumb ex-pop star, didn't really know what she was talking about, who was just like, oh my God, that's amazing, I love that, it's so good. Right. So, and it was Jennifer Saunders that wrote it, so thankfully I had the only comedy part in it. And so when the reviews came out, they basically said the show was rubbish, but this girl was brilliant because it was funny. That's what people wanted to see.
You know what, Tam? That's the one thing that you've done so exceptionally well in Hollyoaks, like now, currently, is that you've managed to make a villain. Like normally villains have an expiry date and there has an end date, and you've made your villain comical. And I speak to so many people who find your character that they just, the way it dips in and out is just... Yeah. They just love it, and that's what Hollyoaks was. It's always been like that, hasn't it? It's always been that sort of kind of silly, slightly camp kind of, and it's just
the mad crazy thing is, so when I was in the show, we'd got our notice, and I was like, oh my god, you know, what am I going to do now? That whole kind of thing of, oh, here we go again. And Brian happened to be in the audience like a week before we closed down, and he texted me and went, "Oh my God, as if I've just seen you in the programme, meet you afterwards." So I was like, oh my God. Because by this point, he was doing Hollyoaks.
Yeah.
So I went to the pub afterwards, and you know when you're like, don't tell anyone, but you do tell everyone, don't you? Because you're like...
Because you can't help yourself.
Yeah. And he never turned up, and And I was like, oh, brilliant.
I hate to interrupt you, but just to say it whilst we're on this point of the thing, it's funny, when I went back into EastEnders in 2009, I was employed, when you were talking about Dominic, him and Dietrich Santa, and my contract was for a year. And as my contract ended, Dietrich, because they were bringing Charlie Brooks back, so they didn't want two bitch characters. 2 months after my contract ended, Brian came in, and Brian message saying, Gemma, I don't want you to think that I wouldn't bring you back. From EastEnders, this is in 2009. So how funny.
Oh my God, how is this?
I didn't even know that we crossed then, for that to be that way. And he's always nurtured me in the same way, but it's, you have contracts extended or you don't. It's just the way the business works, and there's no, then it's lovely. It's really lovely to hear it the other way around. Anyway.
I think my experience of Brian's quite interesting, and I feel quite sorry for him really, because he came in as the producer that I was kind of working under, Jo Hallows. She left and he came in, was my experience of it. And I think the first time that I met him was him saying, yeah, we're not going to renew your contract this year.
But see, Kelly,
that's the first time that I met him, and I think I'd kind of already considered that wasn't going to happen because I had no family left in the show anyway, really. And I thought I felt more sorry for him because of the way that he kind of told me. Like,
Kelly, how funny! I was the first person that he employed on his contract on Hollyoaks, so that's
wow.
We maybe just didn't cross paths.
Yeah,
maybe just by weeks, literally by weeks, because I was the first person he employed. So it's funny, yeah.
But that's then he brought you into Hollyoaks, did he, Tam?
So basically then he texted me and said, there's a part that we've written and I think you'd be perfect for it. And at that point, obviously, you know what it's like when you audition for Hollyoaks, they don't tell you the actual name of the part, they don't tell you who it's connected to. It's all because because of storylines and stuff. So they just said, I think his words were something along the lines of, I want this character to be like the Tamara I saw on stage, and just a bit larger than life. And I was like, oh, okay, I could do that. Brilliant. So the funny story is though, so I don't know about you guys, but I get so like hysterically nervous before auditions. Like I'm a nightmare. And so I think it was like in the afternoon, but I'm still like, right, I've got to go up to Liverpool though the night before because I can't be rushing. And so I went up to Liverpool and looked at hotels to stay in and found this hotel, which by the picture looked really lovely. And it was, the one by the station, the Adelphi.
Wow. Did you not watch the show on the Adelphi before you checked in?
It hadn't come out then. This was years ago.
No, the show was years ago, I think.
So I went and stayed at this, and I think he got it so cheap. Well, obviously I realised why it was cheap. There was like a thing of water in the roof that looked like it's going to explode on me at any minute. But anyway, so after I went to the audition, I get there and I find out that I'm auditioning for the daughter of Jessie Birdsall, who it was really weird because I had a massive crush on as a teenager. Do you remember Wish You Were Here? The film?
No, sorry.
He was in a film called Wish You Were Here. You have to watch it. It's hilarious.
He was fit though. Seriously,
he was really fit.
Dad, we're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. So that was weird. And
not then, Dad, by the way.
No, not actually. So then I get there and I'm in the room, that you get put in the little casting room with the sofas in to wait, and there's the other girls they're auditioning, and I notice, oh, what is her name? You know her, Gemma. She's so lovely. I ended up getting on so well with her. But she was in Footballers' Wives with Jessie Birdsall, so I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to get it if she's here. What is it? You know her. She lives in Addlestone.
I'm trying to think of what, like someone that auditioned for the same part as you, not Zoe Lucker.
No, and she ended up. I tell you, she used to play Gary Lucy's wife in Footballers' Wives.
Oh,
I don't know what your name is. The girl with the Susie.
Amy Susie.
Susie.
Oh yeah,
Susie Amy.
Yes. We got there.
And I was like, oh well, I'm never going to get it then, am I? You know, whatever. So I'm doing, and she was so lovely. She like looked, bless her, she looked after me all day because I was so nervous and she'd done it all before. And so I came home that night and I remember crying to my mum, going, I haven't got it. And I really worked it. She went, it doesn't matter. You tried your best. And it wasn't till like, I think it was about 9 o'clock at night, I got a text from Brian saying, well done today. Don't tell anyone, but you've got a call back. And I was like, ah! So when I got my call back, I said, well, I've got to go and stay in the hotel again, haven't I? Because it's all, you know, the luck thing. So I went and stayed in this awful hotel again for a second night because I was like, if I don't, I'm not going to get it. So I have to stay in the same room.
Same pair of knickers as well, Tam.
Exactly. So I get to the recall and I was thinking, because he said, you know, when I got it, I asked my agent, she seemed to think it was me and another girl. So I presumed it was Susie Amy. And when I got there, it wasn't. And I was like, what's going on? I don't know. Like, anyway, did my audition. I was the first one in. And when I came back out, you go back down to the casting suite. And one of the little casting ladies said to me, is it okay if you just hang in the canteen for a little bit? So I'm in the canteen, and me being me, I've rung my mum and said, I'm in the canteen, mum. And she's like, well, what are you doing there? And I've gone, oh my God, I'm so, right, hang on. Let me just get rid of the cat. 2 seconds.
Okay. I'm going to go and top up my drink. Can I go and top up?
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael, you might have to write it down now, but I'm going to go and get another rum and coke.
Oh, shall I top up my drink?
Yeah.
I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to take the cat downstairs. 2 seconds.
Yeah. I told you it had to be her. See how brilliant she is.
I've just taken a cat downstairs and said to Gareth, so the cat's just had like starring performance.
Yeah, that will stay. That will stay, by the way. That's brilliant.
So you're in the canteen, Tam.
So I'm in the canteen. I'm on the phone to my mum.
Yeah.
And I've said, I'm in the canteen. She's like, what are you doing in there? And I said, they just told me to come to the canteen. And she went, well, why? And I said, I think Brian's going to come downstairs and do the whole kind of, I just want to say, I think you did brilliantly. I'm sorry we can't take you on, but I want to tell you personally, because that, as an actress, you always assume the worst, don't you? You never say, or very rarely do you say, I've bagged that one. And always, if you do say you bagged that one, you haven't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Think, I did shit there, and then you get the call back, and you're
exactly.
Like, and then you try and replicate being shit, and you then just fuck it up anyway. So it's like you can't win.
Exactly. So anyway, so I've sat there twiddling my thumbs, and you've obviously got, you know, the canteen at Hollyoaks. It hasn't changed; it's still the same. But the food's probably
Martin's still there.
Martin was still there until very recently, and he left. I say left. With no kind of explanation, and we all kind of got very shut down when we asked why he wasn't. Really sad. A sign of the times, you know, when you everything has got to be so very, very correct.
Yeah.
And he was obviously very not.
Maybe a bit old school. Yeah.
But everyone that was in the cast loved him, and he was, you know, he was the person that cheered you up as soon as you walked in the canteen first thing in the morning. But yeah, he's not there, and nobody's really sure why not.
Does Grace have something to do with that, Tam? Sorry, was that? I said, did Grace Black have something to do with that? Not the cat.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Not the cat. No, I'm joking. Sorry, I was just trying to make it light-hearted again.
You sensed the tone and were like, save it.
No, it wasn't me. Oh, I tell you who Let me finish the story.
Yeah, let's go back to the canteen. You've just spoke to your mum.
Yeah,
I think it's going to tell you no.
And then all of a sudden, so you've got all the extras sitting in the canteen who are there. You've got crew there. It's like the middle of lunchtime. Everyone's looking, and we were like right in the middle, down at the bottom, like near the coffee shop bit. And he walks in, and honestly, I was sweating, absolutely sweating, because I thought I knew exactly what he was going to say, and I was sweating because I'm like, how do I respond to that? Like, do I say thank you very much, or do I say what can I do better, or like you just go, I don't know, what's the... Anyway, he sat down, didn't say anything, just sat down, put his arm around me and said, how do you fancy joining the cast of Hollyoaks? Well, but also it's in the middle of the canteen, so you can't scream, can you? Because you're like, don't want to embarrass myself. So I'm like screaming inside, but slightly crying on the outside. Like, it was a very odd moment. And that feeling you get, there's nothing in the world, like nobody who isn't in this business will ever understand that feeling you get when you get a job. Is like, and you never grow out of phoning your mum. Like, you never grow out of that. Oh, phone mum. And I remember I had the most bizarre train journey back home. So I got on the train from Liverpool and bought myself a little bottle of fizz from Marks and Spencer's. Sat on the train because I thought I can't ring anyone on the train back because it keeps cutting out all the time. Anyway, I'm sat there and I obviously did phone somebody, but I knew that I wasn't allowed to say, like, officially to anyone. And the person that was sat, I've never told you this story, Gemma. The person that was sat opposite me on the train was obviously overhearing my conversation. And after a while of me, like, sat there smiling to myself and drinking these mini bottles of Prosecco, he went, I'm so sorry, but I couldn't help but overhear. You're an actress. And I was like, yeah. And he went, and you've just got a job. And I went, yeah. I said, I'm not supposed to tell anyone. He went, please let me buy you a bottle of champagne. And he bought, well, it wasn't champagne, but he bought one of the big bottles from a complete stranger.
Wow.
And he was this lovely Indian man, doctor, and his wife was a very famous actress in the Bollywood films, so knew about all the acting part of it and told me all about her and was like, oh, my wife is in Bollywood films, she's amazing. And so all the way home, he was having a big party for me on this train on the way home, like some random guy that I just met. It was so lovely.
That's amazing.
So that's my story of how I ended up in Hollyoaks.
And Gemma, didn't you audition quite a few times before you kind of got the role of Claire?
Yeah, I went up for 5 different parts before I got Hollyoaks. So I'd been up, and you get given your expenses, whereas in, like, you get to train and you have to pay for it yourself. This is what it does every time. And from London, if you're from London, and you get there with your train ticket at casting, and they give you your money back with your receipt.
Yeah, I've forgotten that bit.
Like a kind of ritual. Like, I remember meeting Jodie Albert there. That's when she got on the show, and there was a couple of other people, and it was weird because I was from EastEnders. I finished when I was 15, and then I was sort of training as an electrician with my dad and my brother. And
I must say, I love that, the fact that you are like a trained electrician.
Well,
like,
you have to be certified as you go along. That was when they're talking sort of 10, no, oh my God, I'm giving myself credit, 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah, but hold on, if I had an issue with my lights, you could come and fix them.
No, it's all different now. I could give it a go.
My dad might be a bit offended, actually, really, because my dad's actually an electrician. So maybe I should ring him first.
You could definitely wire up your speakers for you, though.
Yeah, so we've had a hot tub for like 7 years, and when we moved into our house a couple of years ago, like I had like all the stuff, and I just FaceTimed my brother, who is an electrician, just to make sure I was putting it all in the right way, because like the wire colours have changed and stuff, boring regulations. We now got the same wires as Europe nationally and stuff. Well, like, not Not even
I love that you know this though.
Oh, and how your brother's so lovely as well.
I do actually work for them now. So the 2 mornings my kids go into nursery, I work and do the returns. So everybody that brings back stuff to my brother's wholesaler, I do the returns and stuff. And I've worked with these boys since I was a kid. And well, not a kid, like since I was 16, 17. And, 20 years later, I'm still doing that. And I remember when I went up for the part for Claire, I said no. So my agent rang me and said, Hollyoaks,
no,
for a part. And I said, and I got a bit of grief, when you're working with a load of lads in an electrical business. I was answering the phone and stuff, but it's, if someone's off or someone's off sick and you're really strained in a work environment, that's what matters to you the most at the time. So when I got a call for another, I was like, I'd done 5 auditions during working for these guys and with these guys, and it was like they almost took the piss out of me, to be honest. So I just said I actually stood up for myself and I said, do you know what? I don't care. I was like, they've seen me 5 times. If they want to give me a part, they'll give me a part. They must have me on tape. But I'm not going to go up there. I've got to be in work tomorrow. I've got this. And my agent.
Sorry to interrupt just quickly, but were all these auditions for the same producer?
No, Brian was the first. Brian was completely different. So I was the first person he employed. So
was that your last audition? That was for
my last audition. No, I know, which how funny, because if I didn't go for it, I was on tape, but it would have never met me as me. And when I went there, so my agent was the one that just put his foot down and said, just do it. You need to just do it. So I did. And I went up there not giving a shit, which is exactly it. And I think I was desperate beforehand. I was in a long relationship from 16, till I was 22. And when I've been single for 3 weeks. And when I went up, but that's why I was just like, yeah, fuck this. I'm not doing that. Fuck you. I'm not going up to this. I'm not going to be anyone's like slave or whatever. And I did. I went up there and I did. It was for a part called Fiona, but it wasn't. And I tell you what, nothing actually kind of prepares you as an actor to be told you're a recast. And before I did the audition, I got in the room.
I would never have known that ever. Everyone that I speak to always, when they say Claire, it's you.
It's you.
Like, and that's almost better because nobody remembers the other person, which that's a bigger compliment that you could ever get, is that you've dissolved that other person.
Model Behaviour, a show called Model Behaviour or whatever. I think it was a model show of some kind, and that was when Hollyoaks were criticised for bringing people in that were models and that weren't acting, and then it became, that's when Hollyoaks kind of was downgraded, from the era before that, and then it's kind of got into, it was just all about what you looked like. And unfortunately when Brian came in, he just took it upon himself and just, it literally was like Pippa from Home and Away, where they just open the fridge and go back. She went upstairs with Max one night and the next morning I come down and that was it. But very much like
seriously, that's what happened. Like in the script, she went upstairs with Max and then you came down.
Given an episode gap, and the next morning just come down in my dressing gown, and that was it. And I think they kind of liked the press of it. It was just like this. It was an impact.
I think it's happened more with Hollyoaks than any other soap, is it? The people have taken over characters.
But when she came,
Matt Littler on a couple of weeks ago, and both him and Steph Waring, originally they were played by other people.
Yeah.
I had 2 separate. I've done it again. I had 2 brothers, completely different people. That was bizarre.
EastEnders have done it loads of times. So like Charlie Brooks, who I know now, there was like 2 other Janines before her.
It's really interesting though, because it actually does show that just because as an actor, I think some people think that if you get a role on a soap, you're secure and you've made it. And actually it is hard work. You have to put the work in to keep that role. Because
I'll tell you a mad story. After I started, my character was very similar to Gemma's, obviously, and they sort of made a conscious effort to make me as similar to you because we were sisters, and I was always dressed in, if you look at me then and now, it's like I'm always dressed in black leather, never smile, never laugh, and I think I'm doing like the best job in the world, being this evil person going around being horrible to people and this, that and the other. And I remember getting a a phone call from Brian one night saying, I'm being really straight with you. I'm worried if we don't change your character, we're going to have to lose her because it's so what's the word?
It's so unbelievable. And that, you know what, that's what happened to me, Tams. And when I went back in 2013, you know, Brian will be the first to admit it became very much the red lip, the blonde hair, all this. And it was, you know, with the stuff with Mercedes and Dr. Browning, it was all like there was no smile. You didn't know the depth of it. And the thing that made me win an award in 2007 and make Claire so good back then, you know, you're talking 13 years ago, was because you watched it and it was like the audience knew that she was evil, but none of the village did. Do you see what I mean? So it was, which is like with you. It's just like the audience need to love you. The audience need to want you to. It's like when you watch Killing Eve. You know, Jodie Comer is one of the most. I think she's incredible, but I don't want to be a serial killer. Just let's but the point is, it's like you want her to. You want, even though she's the bad one, you want. That's what excites you.
It has to be, the character has to be that whole thing of they're nasty and bad for a reason. They have to do it because, you know, there's a reason behind it, and you go, okay, well, I sort of understand why she's like this, and but
Tam, didn't Brian go on record actually to say, essentially, I'm pretty sure that he said, I'm messed up. I got this character wrong at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I apologise to Tam for that. I think that was...
He phoned me up, apologised.
But that's on record. That's like in the press and everything that he came out and said that.
He literally said that Channel 4, who is obviously, at the end of the day, the people at Channel 4 have the last say in everything.
Yeah.
And it was basically, I think Channel 4 had said, like, this is not going to work. So Brian, being Brian, who is honestly one of the most talented, most conscientious people I've ever met in my life, said, rather than go, okay, fine, we'll get rid of her, we'll change it up, he went, I think there's more that we can do. So he brought me in for a workshop. I'd only been there for 6-7 months. Brought me into a workshop in, like, you know, the big boardroom. At Hollyoaks, there's like a big boardroom in like a big glass office with a massive desk, and there were all script writers around there, and I was like, oh my God. And we literally hammered out all these ideas, and one of them, which was possibly the best or the worst idea we've ever had, was him saying to me, what do you do when you're on stage to make your character, you know, bigger and funnier, and what do you do? And I said, well, you're giving it as a character. So it's hair, it's what you're wearing. Well, that was it, wasn't it? Do you remember Grace's giant hair?
Oh, it's brilliant.
So literally one day after being this short mullet kind of hair, black leather, I walked out of Price Slice one day with this giant hair on.
A Price Slice.
And I go up to the card machine with Jazz, who played Esther, and she's going, what have you done to your hair? And I went, I don't know, I just felt like a change, and that was it. Boom, all of a sudden Grace was born.
That's a new version of her.
That's what I was saying earlier about like how what you've done with that character, you know, yourself and with Brian, but obviously now you're saying you deserve the credit as well to change her and have the confidence to do it. It's like, I feel with our characters as sisters, it's like bookends. So when I did Claire Early Doors, it was just like, that was when we won the first Viewers Voted Award. Like, it was times that changed for Hollyoaks. And then obviously my character, it's not that in a criticism, but it was put up to that kind of vampish kind of thing, and it didn't work, and we didn't know that. It was new territory, and there's no hard feelings at all. And
that's almost what Brian says when he says he regrets it so much. Is Brian's almost saying, I kind of learnt my mistake.
But that's, we've socialised together. So the reason Tam and I know each other, well, we know each other anyway, but like, we've spent time when we've gone to just private like charity balls. Well, me and Tam have been like the only Hollyoakses. This is like in the last year or two with Brian and his husband, because he knows that we're mates and we get together, and it's because
dancing in the kitchen.
And we're dancing in the kitchen, but we can do that with each other because we've all been in the business so long. I started in EastEnders at the age of 9, and it's just, we know what it's about, and you've got to learn it and understand that it's, you know, it's not even about mistakes. It's just what's right for the time. And you know, those stories that you're saying, Tam, it's so encouraging in this industry.
Gemma, it's really interesting to hear you speak, because you have been in the industry and in the public eye for a very long time, because you were in EastEnders for a very long time, and to hear you talk quite refreshingly how it is a business and it isn't a personal thing. Because I think a lot of actors start out, and if they don't get the job, they feel like it's really personal to them, that they weren't good enough, or you know, if they don't stay in.
I still feel that, and I feel that, like with my own children, I'm a bit sceptical into putting them into stuff if they, you know, because I don't want them to be disappointed. Whereas I was 9 years old and I was in a little little drama school locally, and I did an audition, and it was because I was a 9-year-old that looked like the lady that played my mother, and I could read a script pretty confidently because I was quite good at school, and I got that, and it was something my dad's an electrician and my mum's a hairdresser. I've got no.
How funny that my dad was an electrician as well.
Yeah. So's my dad. Oh my God, Mike, is your dad an electrician? No.
Oh my God. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. But you know, I got it, and it was supposed to be 3 episodes, and it ended up being 6 years, and it was such a like crazy thing for me, because that was mapped my life.
How old were you when you started?
9 years old. It was 1993, and I was. You know,
you are, Gemma, a true professional. But there is one story that we know about of you not being so professional at Hollyoaks, because you're not. Yeah, come on, Gemma, dish the dirt.
Are you talking about my my mileage?
Yeah,
clocking up the miles, shall we say?
Yeah. That time when.
So I'd like to say that I like, in my defence, that I'm actually, you know, I'd never called in sick. I used to be late, and so if anyone's gonna, you know, try and.
Oh my God, that's where we're exactly the same as well. I'm never sick ever.
I've never ever called in sick, and I'll always do it. So there's a condition at Hollyoaks that you have to be within 20 miles of even if you're not in.
And just explain it to the people at home. So when you sign a Hollyoaks contract, you're essentially on a retainer every single day. So even though you might not be scheduled to work, they could call you and you need to get there within a certain amount of time.
Yeah, and if someone's sick, they've got to do a scene, so they'll pull you in.
Yeah.
So what the point is there is a part of your contract. So say, for instance, if you're London-based, then you would have to get permission to go home for those 4 days that you're off, because there's like a whole wall where there's like, you know, all the scenes out like that, and you can see, but they can be moved around at any time.
But
so
Gemma, you didn't go home to London, did you?
No. I followed Andy Ross, who plays Reese.
You blaming Andy?
You know, he played Reese Ashworth.
Yeah,
Andy Ross.
So you're blaming him?
I'm blaming him. Yeah.
Okay, so Andy is watching, and we'll tag him in on it. We're blaming you, Andy.
Even more, he was definitely out there with Phil Olivier and I think someone else. I think it had been Ryan Thomas at the time. And this is back in 2007, I think.
Please tell me you did not get on a plane.
No, this is even better, because I actually haven't told you the whole story. So I had 4 days off. So not only did I not tell them I wasn't coming in, I drove down to London, to Surrey, to my home, and I got home and I was like, oh my God, my friends are here. I've got 4 days off. It's my birthday. I was earning a fortune. It was actually my birthday, the 6th of June. And my dad, who has always taught me to save and is really strict with money, I just said to him, I was like, I just really want to go. He goes, can you afford it? I went, yeah. He goes, well, then let's do it. Booked a flight. I had my passport with me, and I was obviously living in Liverpool. I had a Lonsdale holdall, and I was such a scruff, feral, so feral that I had bikini, shorts, stuff, probably not even washed, knickers and things like that in the boot of my car, shoved it into a bag. And even when I got to LA, where I went, I had gravel.
God.
From my dad's driveway. I had gravel in the bottom of that bag because I packed it so quickly on his driveway. Got there, sat on a lovely plane. And when I got there, because they're 7 hours behind, I'd extended my birthday by 7 hours. Perfect.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, you couldn't do it better. And I got there, met him, and the boys had all gone home, and me and Andy drove from LA to Vegas, the best road trip ever. Stayed over.
Oh my God.
And I got a call at 3 a.m, but I missed it because I was asleep. And when I woke up in the morning, I had a missed call from my mother, from my agent, and from Hollyoaks. And it was saying, someone had called in sick, so you were called to do your scenes, and the only person that knew I was in LA or Vegas was my mother. So, and I told her not to tell anyone. So I had voicemails from my agent going, "So you're in LA?"
Oh, wow.
Usually, if you were to cost that or break your contract, you would have to be fined like £5,000. You think about, like, there's 3 set like crews on set, and it costs them for every half day or whatever the amount of people. Like this was the policy. But obviously, I only had 3 scenes to film before my exit.
May.
Right, I didn't. It wasn't. But I'm just saying, it wasn't blackmail or anything. I was a martyr before. I've always known my lines. I do my stuff, and I came back, and it was just, everybody just laughed at it, because it was just ridiculous. When it was just funny that they actually, because I've never ever let them down. If someone calls in sick, I'll be the first one. Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, that's what everyone says at work. Is the same. It's the same as you and me. I'm like Saturday club. I'm like.
Even if we've had a drink in the morning at work, then people blatantly go, "I'm called in sick," when they were the most pissed person on the dance floor, and you're like, I see. We'll be there. I'm
glad to hear that still happens. That people call in sick when they're not quite sick.
Yeah, that's I think that's the thing with the one thing with Hollyoaks is because it's filmed up north, and most of the people are from down south. The only people that they know up there are each other, so it's a very social. When I first joined Hollyoaks, we used to go out every night. I don't know how on earth we did it, and then unbelievable. I couldn't do it now. If I'm in work the next day now, I can't even have a glass of wine. I'm like, no.
But I think it's the same with, also, like, there was people that lost their jobs when in EastEnders, and that I know of, because they didn't know their lines. It was strict stuff, and yeah, you just learn, don't you? And it's even with Hollyoaks, as much as there's still a schedule, isn't there, Tam? You can have a laugh and a joke, but it's like when you're doing single camera in Hollyoaks and you've got to do it twice round, you've got to give the same performance of the person that you're acting against, and you can't let a night out or anything like that differ from that,
Yeah, but the thing with that is there are people that do let it affect them, and obviously it's hard in Hollyoaks because there's a lot of quite young people in it, who obviously revel in, we're at Hollyoaks, and they have great times, but it still has that kind of underlying thing of there's a lot of respect in Hollyoaks because we all work together and it's very team based, and so
I think the respect comes from the crew.
I
think it absolutely, because they're, for me, and it's really interesting for me to hear you two talk about the show, because it feels like, I suppose when I was there, it felt like I was, and the people that I was with were like looking after the show. We were the caretakers of the show, and then we passed it over to the next people. Yeah. But the one consistent thing for all of these people that I've been speaking to on the Dog in the Pond is that the crew are integral parts of that show.
Do you know what? I was just actually worried to interrupt you, but before you even said it, I was just about to say that, and I was like, exactly, the thing that's not changed is the crew throughout. And I could tell you, I probably, to every 3 cast members that were my friend, I had 5 crew members, that house parties that we were going to, and and it was always us with them. It's not about us and them, it's not about that, but it was more like I would just swap a night out at a glamorous events thing to be, if it was someone's birthday, from the crew. And I think that's where you've got the people, like Jimmy and Nick Pickard and, Ashley Taylor-Dawson and, Jess Fox, and the people, that have been in there and want to be there full time. A lot of people go, oh, Hollyoaks, do you know what? I'm going to go on to do bigger and better things, They
never do. If they treat it with that attitude, they never ever will.
When I was 15, when I left EastEnders, and I was so confident this is what I'm going to do, and I lost all of my friends, not friends, but nobody gives a shit once you're out of it, to be honest. And then it was only when I got Hollyoaks, so, but it's like 7 years between that you don't, like, that's why I did the electrician stuff, and just to have a purpose and to feel like, but you're even waiting tables and people are like, why are you doing this? You're a failed actress. It's like, no, I just need to earn a living.
Yeah, exactly.
So I hope you're enjoying this. but we were enjoying it a little bit too much. So this is where we're going to pause until next week. See you next week, Thursday, 8:30 on YouTube for part 2.